Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. For those who don't know, here we will discuss the plot of movies that you will surely love. There's no harm in subscribing to this channel. This time, we will discuss the MonsterVerse film series titled Kong, Skull Island, released in 2017. This film managed to impress many with its exciting story and thrilling actions. Directed by Jordan Vogt-Roberts, the film stars Tom Hiddleston, Samuel L. Jackson, John Goodman, Brie Larson, and several other big names. Without further ado, let's explore the plot of Kong, Skull Island. At the beginning of the film, set in 1944, we see two people parachuting onto an unknown island in the South Pacific. They are American and Japanese soldiers still at war. It is likely that their planes were chasing each other until they got lost on the island. A firefight ensues, and they chase each other until they reach the edge of a steep cliff. There, one of them draws a sword, and they engage in a fierce battle. When one of them is cornered, a giant hand suddenly appears near them, startling both. They see a creature resembling a giant ape. Then the scene shifts to Washington, D.C., USA, where we see two people carrying Monarch-logoed suitcases. They are Bill Randa and Brooks, entering the American Parliament building to meet someone. They both meet with Senator Willis. When they meet him, Senator Willis appears hurried, but he is reluctantly obliged to meet with Bill Randa. Bill seeks permission and assistance from the country for an expedition to an unmapped island in the South Pacific. Bill obtained a photo of the island from the American Landsat satellite. Bill Randa mentions that the island is often talked about in legends by the name of Skull Island, a place where God did not finish his creation. The island is infamous for many ships and planes disappearing there. Senator Willis seems displeased and initially refuses to grant permission. Later, Bill Randa shows a photo of a ship torn apart, convincing that there is much unknown to mankind. One of the answers lies within that island. The senator remains uninterested. However, Brooks explains that tomorrow night, a Russian Novosat satellite will pass over the island and provide additional photos. Brooks convinces them not to let Russia take the initiative in exploring the island. Now serious, Senator Willis grants permission and funding for the expedition to Skull Island. Bill Randa also requests military escort. The scene then shifts to the Da Nang military base in Vietnam, where the routine of troops preparing to be withdrawn to America is evident, as the Vietnam War has ended. Colonel Packard appears restless, reflecting on his soon-to-end duty and looking at war medals that seem meaningless. That night, with determination after receiving a phone call, he is reassigned for his final mission, to survey the newly discovered island. Later, the scene shifts to another location in Saigon, Vietnam, where Bill Randa and Brooks are seen looking for someone to join the expedition to Skull Island, someone with exceptional survival skills in the wilderness. Bill realizes that they are just a group of ordinary scientists who may not survive in the wild. They both meet with Mr. Conrad. With Conrad's survival skills in unmapped wilderness areas, Bill seeks Conrad's help to lead the ground expedition with a substantial salary. Conrad agrees, and the scene shifts to a photographer processing images. She is Mason Weaver. On a phone call, Weaver learns that her permit to cover the mapping expedition of the unknown island has been approved. Weaver looks happy and curious. The scene then shifts to the docks of Bangkok port, where the Athena ship is anchored. This ship will carry the expedition team, including Bill Randa and his associates, to Skull Island. Some troops are seen getting ready to board the ship, and Weaver is already there. As she is about to board, Weaver is greeted by Colonel Packard, who is not pleased to have a photographer on this expedition. Then, the Athena ship sets sail with the entire expedition party. Inside the ship, an officer from Landsat and his team explain the Landsat satellite images, the destination island for this expedition. He explains that the island is surrounded by perpetual storms that keep it hidden from the outside world. With the help of Packard's military helicopters, he hopes to penetrate the storm and be the first to enter. Landsat also introduces Bill Randa and his entire Monarch team, who will study the resources of the island. Bill Randa is accompanied by a biologist named Ms. San and a geologist named Brooks. The focus of this expedition is everything on the surface and beneath the island. Brooks then explains that he will use explosives to shake the island's soil to understand its density. They will drop seismic charges in marked locations. Then, Major Chapman explains that inside the island, they cannot establish radio contact with the ship. They only have 3 days for the expedition and must gather at the designated point for pickup and refueling before returning to the ship. During the day, the passengers and expedition members on the ship engage in their respective activities. Eventually, the ship reaches the edge of the storm, indicating their proximity to Skull Island. Inside the ship, a debate ensues as they witness the fierceness of the storm ahead. Will the expedition proceed or not? Scientist Victor decides to abandon the expedition, but Bill Randa insists that they can overcome the storm with the help of Packard's helicopter units. The expedition party departs with the escort of helicopter units. They enter a storm that appears extremely fierce. Inside the storm, they experience intense turbulence, lightning striking everywhere, and the constant risk of being struck and falling at any moment. However, with the experience and exceptional skills of the helicopter units, they manage to safely navigate through the storm. They see beautiful islands, calm waters, and lush green vegetation that looks refreshingly pleasant. Weaver looks enthusiastic as she captures the beautiful islands with her camera. Packard then orders his team to disperse as per the initial instructions. Several helicopters carrying scientists are seen landing, while others disperse, preparing to drop seismic charges to measure the island's soil density. One by one, seismic bombs are dropped. Brooks and San are amazed at the incredible seismic measurement responses of the island. More seismic bombs are dropped, and Brooks discovers the fact that beneath the island, there is a very large cavity. As the soldiers are busy dropping seismic bombs, a floating coconut tree is seen crashing down, destroying one of their helicopters. They are shocked, and then a massive hand appears, reaching for their helicopter. Inside the helicopter, the face of a giant gorilla is visible, incredibly angry. Back at the scientists' location, they are startled to hear the warning of danger from the helicopter team. The helicopters are facing an unforeseen danger, a giant gorilla-shaped monster of enormous size. The monster goes on a rampage, destroying the helicopter convoy one by one. Panic ensues as the monster hunts, stomps, and relentlessly pursues the helicopters. One by one, the helicopters fall, including the landing site for the scientists, becoming targets of the monster's rampage. The plane they were on also crashes. Colonel Packard is seen alive, but not his subordinates. Packard witnesses the monster going on a rampage, killing his soldiers. As one of them appears to be struggling, Packard cannot accept the mistreatment of his men by the creature. Packard appears to harbor intense hatred for the creature. Meanwhile, Conrad observes that the monster has calmed down and moved away. Conrad realizes that all the convoy helicopters have crashed, and there are no survivors. Conrad and his group have fallen on the south side of the island. He directs the others to follow the river to reach the pickup location safely later on. In another location, Packard tries to contact Chapman. Chapman responds, revealing that he is safe and stranded on the highest peak on the west side of the island. Chapman is near a helicopter carrying heavy weaponry. Packard plans to rescue Chapman and acquire the heavy weaponry nearby. Packard manages to gather some remaining soldiers and persuades them to join him in rescuing Chapman. Packard then confronts Bill Randa, pointing a gun at him. He feels betrayed by Randa. Packard realizes that this is not an ordinary mapping mission. Bill Randa then reveals that the mission is a proof of concept to show that the monsters are real and exist on Earth. Bill Randa, as a survivor of a ship attack by monsters when he was a child, lost his parents in that attack. This incident fueled his obsession to prove the truth about the existence of these monsters. He explains that the Monarch organization, where he works, is tasked with hunting down giant creatures that threaten humanity on Earth. Packard appears angry and leaves Bill alone. Meanwhile, elsewhere, as Conrad's group walks by a lake, their steps halt for a moment. It's a giant bison emerging from the lake. They look frightened, but Conrad orders them to stay calm. True enough, the creature shows no intention of harming Conrad's group and turns away, leaving them unharmed. The scene shifts to Packard's group as they traverse a bamboo forest. One of the soldiers looks upward and his mouth is pierced by something strange. Upon closer inspection, it's a leg of a giant spider. They panic and try to save themselves, attempting to cut off the spider's leg and shooting at it. Eventually, they manage to kill the creature. Packard's face shows intense anger. Back to Conrad's group, this time they discover a peculiar sight resembling the remains of a temple or settlement. As they investigate, Weaver notices movement. It turns out to be the local inhabitants of the island, and they surround the group. A man in a 1940s military uniform with a beard appears, seemingly delighted with Conrad's group's arrival. He is Lieutenant Hank Marlowe, who was seen earlier in the film's opening. Now, 28 years have passed since those initial events. The scene shifts to Chapman's location. As Chapman tries to get water from the river, he sees the gorilla monster approaching. Chapman hides as the monster appears wounded and in pain. The monster takes water with its hand to drink, then realizes something in the river. It pulls something out, a giant octopus. A fight ensues between the monster and the giant octopus, ending with the octopus's defeat. The monster eagerly devours the tentacles of the octopus and leaves with it. Elsewhere, Marlowe leads Conrad and his group to the settlement of the local inhabitants, known as the Iwi. Weaver sees a towering fortress and assumes it's to ward off the giant gorilla monster. Marlowe responds that it's not what they fear, there's a more terrifying creature residing on the island. Marlowe then guides Conrad and the group to another location. The place is the wreckage of a ship stranded on the island, considered sacred by the Iwi people. Inside, it's adorned with ancient paintings. In the first painting, the locals are haunted by fear due to the attacks of fierce monsters. Then, in the second painting, one of the fierce monsters turns to protect the locals from other monsters that prey on them. In the next painting, 2 of the 3 protecting monsters have died, leaving only one savior monster. The locals refer to their savior monster as Kong. Kong is the king of the island, akin to a saving deity for the Iwi people. The island is Kong's home. Marlowe explains that Kong is rightfully angry because recent visitors to the island dropped numerous bombs. Weaver asks if Kong killed Marlowe's friend, the Japanese soldier seen at the beginning of the film who was also stranded on the island with Marlowe. Marlowe responds that Kong didn't. Kong is a protective god, while their enemies hide beneath the island, the terrifying monsters that prey on the locals. Marlowe calls these monsters skull crawlers. Skull crawlers emerge from the earth, enraging Kong. Kong can handle smaller skull crawlers, but Marlowe warns not to let the larger ones awaken, as they are the ones that killed Kong's entire family. Kong is the last of his species, and the Iwi believe that if Kong is gone, the large skull crawlers will surface, causing a disaster. Conrad then invites Marlowe to leave the island and head to the pickup point in the north of the island. Marlowe is pleased and leads Conrad to a ship he built with his now-deceased Japanese soldier companion. The ship is unfinished, and Marlowe asks for Conrad's help to complete it. It will be used to reach the northern part of the island at the pickup point. While Weaver takes photos of the locals, she hears a strange sound outside the gate. She walks towards it, finding a giant bison trapped in the wreckage of a helicopter. As Weaver tries to help, something lifts the helicopter. It's Kong. He helps the giant bison, and although Weaver is scared, Kong doesn't attack her and turns away, leaving her unharmed. Elsewhere, Chapman attempts to contact the others but fails. Chapman then realizes that the log he's sitting on is actually a monster. He shoots at the creature, but it shows no resistance. The creature appears scared and leaves. Suspicious, Chapman turns around, confirming that a skullcrawler is behind him. It immediately attacks Chapman. That night, at Colonel Packard's location, Bill Randa realizes that Packard's main goal in rescuing Chapman is to retrieve the heavy weaponry near him. Packard intends to use it to seek revenge against Kong for slaughtering his men. Despite Bill saying it's futile, Packard insists on seeking vengeance. The next day, Marlowe bids farewell at his friend's grave, a Japanese soldier who was stranded on the island and had gone before him. Marlowe states that without uniforms in war, they are brothers. He takes his friend's samurai sword and gets ready to leave. Marlowe and Conrad have successfully fixed their ship, and today they will use it to head to the pickup location. Marlowe bids farewell to the Iwi people who have accepted him during his stay. The Conrad group, accompanied by Marlowe, departs. During the journey, Slivko, a soldier with Conrad's group, suddenly receives a radio call. It's Packard. Slivko inquires about Packard's location, and Packard fires a signal, visible in the distance, indicating that they are close. Conrad orders to pick up Packard's group. However, Victor, the Landsat scientist, is suddenly attacked by large flesh-eating birds. Conrad and the group are shocked, helpless as they witness Victor being torn apart in the sky by the birds. Conrad decides to continue the journey to meet Packard. Upon reaching the outer location, Conrad's group finally encounters Packard's group. Conrad introduces Marlowe to Packard and suggests going to the boat to continue the journey to the pickup point. However, Packard refuses, wanting to rescue Chapman first. A debate ensues because Marlowe knows that Chapman's location is the nest of the skullcrawler. After careful consideration, Conrad agrees to help Packard rescue Chapman. They all set off to rescue Chapman. On the journey, they come across numerous giant bones, confirming that it's indeed Kong's elderly relatives. Marlowe expresses concern as he knows it's the nest of the Skullcrawler, but Packard is determined to go there. Conrad agrees to accompany them. As they enter the Skullcrawler's nest, they find countless scattered skeletons of various sizes, both small and giant. One of Packard's men accidentally ignites a cigarette, triggering gas near him to explode. The area is filled with highly flammable gas emanating from the earth. Shortly after, a strange sound is heard, and indeed, it's the Skullcrawler. The Skullcrawler spews out skulls, and among them is Chapman's military necklace near Conrad. Conrad realizes that Chapman has fallen victim to the Skullcrawler. Suddenly, Bill is snatched from behind by the Skullcrawler. Those present are helpless. A fierce battle ensues against the Skullcrawler, and the flesh-eating birds also join the attack. Weaver throws a lighter towards the flammable gas, finally defeating the Skullcrawler. They continue their journey. Conrad shows Chapman's necklace to Packard, indicating that Chapman is no more. However, Packard insists on continuing the journey to retrieve the weapons and explosives near Chapman's fall location to kill Kong. Marlowe explains not to kill Kong because Kong is the protector of the island. The real threat is the creatures like the Skullcrawler. Packard insists on killing all the creatures after avenging Chapman. Here, they part ways. Packard and his group head towards the weapons and bombs, while Conrad and his group head to the river to return to the ship, waiting for Packard there. Conrad and Weaver go to higher ground to check the ship's location. Meanwhile, Packard finds Chapman's helicopter containing heavy weapons and bombs. That night, Packard orders his team to prepare, while Conrad and Weaver manage to reach a hill. They see the river where their ship is anchored. Shortly after, Kong emerges from the mist, approaching them. Weaver, a bit frightened, gathers the courage to touch Kong. Kong appears calm, but soon there's an explosion not far from them. Kong then becomes visibly angry. It's the doing of Packard and his team. Conrad instructs Brooks and Sand to return to the boat, while he and Weaver want to help first before catching up with Brooks. Marlowe, who is aware, follows Conrad to assist Kong. At Packard's location, he successfully lures Kong closer to them. As Kong approaches, Packard throws fire towards the lake, and Kong catches fire. Helpless, Kong collapses. When Kong is unconscious, Packard places explosives around him. As Packard is about to detonate Kong, Conrad appears and prevents Packard from pressing the bomb detonator. Tension builds between them. Packard insists on killing Kong. Then, Slivko, realizing it's a mistake to side with Conrad, orders his superior to hand over the bomb detonator. As they confront each other, an unusual wave emerges from the lake. It turns out to be the gigantic Skullcrawler feared by Marlowe. Finally, it surfaces, and everyone runs in fear, except Packard. Kong then wakes up and attacks Packard. A battle ensues between the weakened Kong and the Skullcrawler. The next morning, Brooks and Sand wait in the boat. Meanwhile, Conrad's group and the soldiers run to evade the giant Skullcrawler. Conrad instructs Weaver to shoot a flare on top of the hill so that Brooks can locate them. Then, Conrad and some people try to lure the Skullcrawler to buy time. While Conrad and his group are baiting the Skullcrawler, Kong appears from a distance. A fierce battle between Kong and the Skullcrawler unfolds. Weaver manages to reach the top of the hill and successfully shoots the flare. Kong, weakened, seems trapped and cornered. Then, Brooks arrives with his ship, firing at the Skullcrawler. The Skullcrawler moves toward the boat. Marlowe, Weaver, and the military forces shoot at the Skullcrawler as much as they can. Eventually, Kong escapes the entanglement and throws the Skullcrawler with the ship's propeller, hitting it. The Skullcrawler falls, and Kong traps it with the ship's chain. During the fight, Weaver falls from the hill. With great effort, Kong manages to incapacitate the Skullcrawler. Later, Kong rescues Weaver, who is still alive. However, the Skullcrawler is still alive. Kong fights the Skullcrawler with Weaver still in his hand. Fortunately, Kong successfully kills the Skullcrawler and saves Weaver. They then continue their journey. Then, 3 helicopters arrive to pick them up. Kong watches from a distance. In the end, Marlowe successfully reunites with his family after 28 years of separation. In the final scene, Conrad and Weaver are seen sitting in a room. Later, Brooks and San appear, explaining that Skull Island is just the beginning. There are many more creatures like that out there. Brooks adds that Kong is not the only king. On the projector screen, various giant monster shapes ruling the earth are shown.
and thus concludes the complete storyline of the film Kong, Skull Island. I hope you enjoyed it.
For the next episode, I will discuss the next film in the MonsterVerse series, which is Godzilla, King of the Monsters. So, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay tuned for our exciting content.
Please leave your critiques and suggestions in the comments section.
And until next time, see you in our next content.
Bye.